welcome to another MTD podcast. It's 6 p.m. on Friday. This is the podcast that we release the same time every week, where we talk about what we've been up to in the week that's just elapsed and what we're going to be doing in the days to come, and also with a little bit of chit chat along the way. I'm always joined by a couple of cohorts, and today is no different. I've got Joe and Colin, and I'll start with you, Joe, because I've not seen you for a while. Are you good?
Really good, thanks, Paul. Yeah.
You've been on holiday this week. You haven't got a suntan, but you've been on holiday.
A bit of a tan. Yeah, I went to Tywin and Abu Dhabi, going back end of August as well. Yeah, really good. I'm not a cohort, mind you.
You're a big fan of Wales, aren't you, going there on holiday? Is it because of the close proximity to where you live? Or is it just because...
No, it is. I'm an hour and 45 from the coast, but I'd go anyway. It's stunning place, yeah.
And what's the what are the beaches like there? Because I've never been. The only time I've been to Wales is when I went to the Brecon Beacons on a walk, and that I've got to say that was absolutely beautiful. But it was a bit of a challenge because I did one of these 25-mile hike things and got caught at the top of the Brecons in snow, wind, and rain, and it was horrendous. But I'm told that on a nice day, it's beautiful.
Well, where we goes right on the edge of Snowdonia. So you got the mountains and the hills and things, but you got glorious beaches, and they're fairly quiet being Wales. When I've been down south and to some of the more, how do you put it? Almost tradition, spots. Premium places.
The places
Devon.
Where Colin goes with his kiss me quick hat.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, let's just clarify.
Just super busy, whereas where we go, super quiet. It's really good, really nice.
Let's just clarify a couple of things. The only one who's got kiss me quick hat is Paul, because I've known him for a long, long time, and I've been on holiday with him, and it always comes out. It's dreadful. Second, how'd you get two Wales in a Mini?
Go on.
On the M4. Boom! Get it?
It depends. If you live where Joe is, you wouldn't be going that way.
No, that's out my way.
No, that's my
How would you get 2 Wales in a Mini from London? That would have been a better way of phrasing it. But
Colin, wow, you need to be more specific with your jokes.
The joke masters here, honestly.
So coming up in this show this week, we're going to be talking about a few visits we've made. It has been quieter this week, as you would expect. We're well into the holiday season now. We've been to Prodrive this week, which was a terrific visit. We'll talk about that. Gio's also been at AM Hydraulics. I was privileged to be invited to the Star GB Golf Day, which I've got to say was absolutely out of this world. The weather held out. We were expecting rain. I kept looking the night before thinking, no, it's going to rain. There's nothing worse than playing. It puts you off your stroke when it's raining.
There is one thing worse than playing golf in the rain, and you know what that is, Paul, don't you?
Playing golf with me.
Absolutely. How long did it take you?
Well, let's start with this. So the Star GB Golf Day took place on Tuesday. They invited 32 customers, and I mean, I think with current times as well, with the pingdemic and all the rest of it, I'm sure they were a little bit concerned that everyone was going to turn up, but they did in the end, and we had 8 groups of 4. I was lucky to be in group 1. I was with Alec from Star. I was with Phil Smith from Wheel Park and Anton from Scott Bennett Engineering. And we had a tremendous round. It only took us about 6.5 hours to get round.
Can't believe
it's not bad for a par 72, I think it was, 18-hole course. 6.5 hours, yeah.
And you were the first ones out?
We were the first ones out. I'd want to do 6.5 hours from my house door to door, and it's an hour and a half each way.
But what do you put that down to? Why do you think it took so
long?
Your
bad play, Paul.
Yeah, I'd say 1/4 of that first 4 ball would be the problem. I'm not mentioning any names at all. But
well, the guys I played with were really, really good, I've got to say. They were so patient as well, which you have to be if you play golf with me. I spent a lot of time in the bunkers, a lot of time in the rough, and I learnt a lot. I learnt a lot of the phrases that happen in golf. I learnt that you can't just be picking your balls out of the rough and putting them on the fairway and in the shot.
Oh my God.
There's so much to golf that I didn't realise.
Clearly.
You can't cheat. No.
Can I just say, I was on a golf weekend, and Sunday and Monday, and I'd just share this with you briefly. I'll ask Joe, because Paul's got no idea about golf, clearly. The bloke was playing off 28. If he scored over 40 points, what would you suggest?
It's an enigma, or maybe he needs to look at his handicap somewhat.
If he did it 2 days on the bounce, would you suggest maybe his handicap was slightly incorrect?
In our society, we call him a bandit.
Yeah, that's not what I called him.
But so was he falsifying his data?
He was cheating.
Basically.
That's it. I'm gonna call him out on it. It was a cheat.
But I guess if he hasn't played golf for a number of years and has been stripped of his handicap, he's not lying.
No, absolutely not. Totally. Anyway, moving on, because that's angered me.
If I'd have cheated, I still wouldn't have won.
No. So when I join my club and I need my card marked, Colin, I don't invite you to mark my card now. You'll be slightly harsh on me, would you?
No, I'd be accurate. That was all. Your 6 would be a 6. Your 8 would be an 8.
Okay, so coming up, we're going to talk about those things. It was a brilliant day. I do have to say thank you to Star. I was pretty poor on the day. I think one of the guys at JCB, apparently one of the pros, said he'd never seen either such a low score or a high score, whichever way it works.
Such a bad golfer.
I don't know, but I put that down to the clubs that I borrowed and a little bit of the environmental conditions.
Well, someone said there was a bit of crap on the end of the club. So you looked at the club
me.
face, yeah.
The other end.
So in the news this week as well, we spoke about the Olympics last week when you weren't here, and I asked you weren't here, Joe, and I asked Gio and I asked Colin what sport that they would be in if they were at the Olympics. What would you be in? We've almost won 20 medals as well. Look, he's having to check out which sports are in. Which would you participate in, Joe?
Well, I'm glad you've asked me this, actually. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, did a podcast with a gent called John Stanbridge.
Okay.
And he's the pilot for the Team GB bobsleigh team.
You know it's not the Winter Olympics?
I know.
Okay, just checking.
Would the pilot that sits in the front?
Yes, I didn't know this till yesterday. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, you know. And
to
answer your question directly, there's trials. You don't need any experience. There's trials for the next Olympics at Bath University.
When?
Evidently, lots of prop forwards, when they finish rugby, go into bobsleigh because you need explosive legs and power. Not saying I've got any of those, but I'm an ex-prop. So if he's to answer your question, bobsleigh.
Right, okay. So if he's the pilot, does he do any of the pushing as well, or does he just literally sit?
All four. Well, I think he does there's a 2 and a 4 man. He does the 4 man. So yeah, you all explode off the line, and then you all jump in. He's the one that does the steering at the front.
Do you actually steer those things then?
I steer, yeah. I sound like an expert. I didn't know any of this
just
yesterday.
With the contour of the
you
track?
steer it,
no,
absolutely.
There's a lot to it, yeah. And evidently, it's the only sport I've ever found where weight is an advantage. So that's why I would pick bobsleigh.
It is an advantage. So if you've got powerful legs and you're heavy...
120 kilos on average they are.
120 kilos?
Yeah, it's all downhill,
That's almost as big as you, Paul.
What's 120 kilos in stones? That's
18, if not more.
Big.
They're quite often big,
alive.
6 foot, big long legs, big levers.
Wow, good grief. So you'd be in the bobsleigh team, would you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Not
I
the
won't tell you
one.
what I won't tell you what Colin suggested to me off air earlier that you'd be in, because that wouldn't be pleasant.
I was going to do the synchronised diving with Joe.
Gio said the same. Also in the new, well, it's good that we've also almost got 20 medals, I think, as the last place I looked. I think we've done really well so far. Other bits in the news, obviously this pandemic's been going on. 700,000 pings in the last week, and
more
Boris,
in China.
And is there?
No, it's just their surnames.
And Boris has now done 2 years as PM, which came out this week, which was good to see. Has he done a good job or a bad job? I suppose that's
Carrie's done a great job.
Yeah,
controversial.
I'm sure that.
It's toughest job in the world.
Toughest job in the world. Yeah, other than being on this MTD podcast. I'm going to talk about Prodrive now, where me and Gio were on Wednesday this week. This is a company I used to knock on the door. If you've been up and down the M40, you would have seen Prodrive, and I mean you must have seen that. And what a company that is! Some of the old cars, Carver would have absolutely loved it. I was
going to say that
he would have absolutely loved it. They'd got all the old Jensen Buttons.
Jensen Buttons.
F1 car. They'd got all the rally cars. I remember seeing a picture on Ian's social media feed some time ago of him driving a Metro or something when he was doing rallies. They had all that sort of stuff there. There was probably 20 or 30 of these cars that the company had been involved in making parts. They've refurbished. They've got refurbishment capabilities as well. But I didn't realise that Prodrive actually it goes above and beyond. They make parts for Aston Martin Racing. They also make luxury parts for Range Rover. They get involved in parts for cars for the Dakar Rally. There's so many projects.
Don't they get involved in the R&D as well? They don't just make parts. They're actually, aerospace as well, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It really is across the board. Even medical, they got involved in the Ventilator Challenge. And they actually had one of the ventilators that they'd been involved in the design and the creation of as well.
Yeah,
so
I have to say, company. I don't often want to spend any time with you, Paul, but I'd happily come to that. It'd be a good visit, that one.
Yeah, it was really good. Now, the essence of it was the fact that Colchester Machine Tool Solutions have got some a partnership with them where they now have like what they'd class as a bit of a showroom for their machines. So they've got 4 machines in there at present, soon to be 7. And the idea is they've got a lovely facility in Elland up north where you can go and see all the Colchester machines. But of course, Elland's a long way if you're coming from Bournemouth or London or what have you. So by having this place in Banbury on the sort of motorsport alley is going to be perfect for them.
Prestigious name as well.
It is, and actually, it's good. What was good about it was the fact that they got these 4 machines in there, and they're using them in a real working environment. So they've got a VMC, they've got a turning centre with sub-spindle and Y-axis, and they're actually making parts for their projects on these machines, and they're inviting customers in, and they're going, do you know what? Look at these machines. They're, Colchester have moved on. We're not just the manual conventional stuff anymore. We've got multi-axis machines. And actually, if you don't want to take it from me, talk to the guy that's operating it, because he's there, he's making parts, he's machining titanium for whatever industry, and you can see that he genuinely loves that machine. What they say is you often go to showrooms and basically you've got the apps guy, you've got a pretty soft demo, and you don't really get to touch and feel the machine, whereas this is...
You're getting your hands dirty, actually.
You're being able to witness all the machines in action. And so I had good day with Geo there doing that. I found out actually some sad news. Geo's got a tick. Tick. He's got a tick.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, why?
No, he's got a tick.
Oh, what is that?
Not that one of those ticks. He's got a tick that you get from animals. Like
little bugs that attach themselves.
Yeah, he's got one which can turn into like a. I can't remember the name of the disease, but basically,
Lyme disease.
Why doesn't he brush it off?
That's really bad. That's really dangerous.
Why doesn't he just brush it off? Or does it not work like that?
You can't. With a tick, if you brush them off, they can get the legs will stay in you, and you get infected. So you've got to burn it off.
Yeah, so I think he's on antibiotics or whatever.
Knowing what Geo's like, that would have been a long, difficult conversation.
Yeah, well, I was chatting to him yesterday about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got the antibiotics anyway." So, but he's making a recovery, which is the most important thing. But he enjoyed that visit as well, learning about the cars and everything that Prodrive do. Before I talk about AM Hydraulics, which was the next visit, Joe, do you remember 7 years ago this week? And in fact, I think you were there, Colin. We did that ice bucket challenge. Do you remember that was?
I remember it.
Did you swear?
What, in that hotel in Northampton somewhere?
In that hotel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'd gone home. I'd just started, and I'd let my taxi turn up, and I'd left.
There's three things that I remember about that evening. One, I suppose if we do it in chronological order, one is doing the ice bucket challenge in the bar. 2, thinking it's a good idea to do it again, and Paul pulling me out of my hotel room naked. So I'm stood there with an ice bucket on my head with no clothes on, essentially. And finally going to get Paul's car in the morning, which was in the disabled bay, with a rather disgruntled letter on it. Can you remember?
Yeah,
it's not like, let's just go and hide in there. No one know it's me. This car was wrapped with MTD. So
I remember. And we paid a visit to a new potential prospect that morning, didn't we? After that,
and we got the order.
Did we? Yeah. I remember the ice bucket. I remember the we got completely carried away with the ice bucket challenge, and it went from 1 to it ended up just getting buckets and just chucking over each other. Which
I do recall. I'd like to. I didn't park in so bay, and I wasn't there.
Yeah,
but
I do
recall
from the hotel the next day saying there's some damages due because your carpet in your hotel room was completely sodden.
That wasn't the ice bucket challenge. That was that was an overnight accident, which we've all done.
7 years ago, incredible where how things have evolved over the last 7 years. AM Hydraulics. Now, this was we've been to AM Hydraulics quite a few times in the last couple of years. A company based in the West Midlands. Cook's there is, I think he's the second generation. Gio was there yesterday, and he did an interview with the 3 generations of the family. The son's now involved in the business, but the Cook's dad that started it is still there and still wandering around. And it was great to see the photos. But the idea of his visit was to look at the brand new Toshiba borer that they've had installed there, which is a TUE 200. Now this boring machine is supplied by Leader CNC as a 2.4 metre swing. It's a BT50 machine, so you can mill with it as well. It's got a tool changer. So, I mean, have you seen these?
I'm going to tell you, 12
Desmond Engineering
12 tools and driven as well. So not only can they do the turn, but they can do some intricate parts and bloody big
vertical borer.
Yeah.
Why would you go for that ahead of a vertical lathe?
Well, I suppose the idea with this vertical borer is it's got a true milling you've got a true milling facility on it. You've got a BT50 spindle, so you're not operating using a turret. You've got a tool changer, which can, I don't know, you say it's 12 tools.
The one at Desmond Engineering is definitely 12.
Yeah, so you could have more than that. So really, you've. I mean, when you see the part that he'd got on the machine yesterday that Gio was looking at, it was like a huge industrial component that had almost like gear cutting on it. You looked at it and you just thought that part is perfect for that machine. Why would you want to be turning the OD and the ID, taking that off, putting it onto a big bed mill, which you'd need for a size? I mean, if you were going to do the milling operations on parts that were that big, you would need a machine that's got 2.4 meters and beyond in the X and the Y axis too. So you've got to invest in a milling facility outside of the turning as well. But the fact that this kind of ram style is a box guideway also means it's got plenty of strength and stability. But like you said, actually, it's an interesting point. Desmond Engineering have got a few of those, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got 150 and a 200 amongst other things as well.
Yeah.
They've actually got, I've just done a blast from the past, they've got a Morisiki WH80, which twin pallet, huge, 60 tools from memory, ex Rolls Royce, still holds tolerance all day, every day.
They do, don't they? Some of these old machines.
Absolutely amazing.
You used to watch your Desmonds? Channel 4?
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
Your poor pie? Desmond. Remember it?
yes. I remember it.
No, I never heard of that one.
Yeah.
When was that?
It was a Barber's
Maybe
in London somewhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Desmonds. Yeah, I was quite young.
Yeah.
I was probably 6. So Paul,
You were a
you'd
little bit
have
older
been
than
about
me.
18.
Oh, I wasn't born then.
But it was, and I know that Cooks always treats the guys when we turn up to. He's got a bar apparently in his. I've not seen it. I'm due to go back because I know Walt High Tech have sold machines in there as well. I'm due to go back, and I'm looking forward to going to that one. Gio had a nice kebab. Put
it in my diary. I like a kebab.
He had a
He had a curry kebab.
He had a kebab.
Yeah,
What's that got to do with having a bar?
Wiggs has got a bar there, and he makes cooks food, and cooks. Yeah, it's like a restaurant.
Sounds like a made bed.
But so much investment at AM Hydraulics. Wait to see the video on this because I did see Gio did a sort of whet the appetite yesterday on social media. Very, very impressive to see. Joe, you were supposed to be at Sandvik as well this week. I know it got postponed. I'm not sure of the reasons why, but what were you doing when you were going to be there?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Top secret.
Top secret, big announcement coming out of
He doesn't know.
world's biggest cutting tool manufacturer. Yeah,
Wow.
big
Right,
announcement coming any day soon. But yeah,
Okay, well, what
large investment,
Yeah.
safeguarding UK jobs essentially.
Oh, fantastic.
That's good. That's good news. One thing I was going to probe you on was this 3D printing of cutting tools these days. Where are we going with that? Is it something that's you're still hearing a lot about? Are you reviewing a lot of these things? Are people using them in the field? There was one company I was at, Superstar Components, we talked about last week, where he had bought some Goering 3D printed tools, and he was actually showing them to me. It was just before I was leaving, and I was quite impressed with what he was showing me. But do you know what? I can't tell you the exact detail about it, but you know more about 3D printed tools, don't you, Joe? Where's the advantage to these?
Obviously, it's still in its infancy. I can't say it.
Is it though? Because people have been doing this for a long time, haven't they?
No, they haven't. People have been talking about it for a long time, but doing it commercially and making it commercially viable, 2 years, 3 years, don't see much of it at all. And people are doing it for two main reasons. One, very low volume, where it's cheaper to print it and basically just mill the pocket out than it is to make the whole tool. But clearly, that's not what 3D printing and additive manufacturing is about. If you imagine a cutting tool honeycombed, taking 80% of the weight out, but maintaining 90% of the rigidity. So there's no downside to the rigidity. The big one for me, Sandvik on their R390 LW lightweight. That's additively manufactured, 3D printed out of
But you say
metal.
it's because to get that rigidity in a tool, surely it needs to be solid though.
No, it's amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
It's honeycomb, it's the structure.
Weight
it's
would
like
be
the,
good.
Yeah, in certain circumstances they are, where the R390 lightweight from Sandvik Coromant, they pitch that on extensions. So where you in bottom pockets where you typically get chatter.
What's the extension called? There's a special name for it. I can't remember.
An arbor.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
where Paul kept his boat. We did that joke ages ago.
Yeah, but
Terrible.
it's,
That was a tumbleweed, wasn't it?
Essentially low weight tools, and guys, lots of advantages. The challenge with a lot of super alloys, HRSA materials, is getting the coolant right to the edge of the insert. And some of these tools go around thousands of RPM. That can be a challenge, whereas additive manufactured, you can put them holes wherever you want. You haven't got to drill in a straight line. When you're 3D printing, it can be a radial hole. Even, believe it or not, you get different performance from a triangular hole or a oval hole than a round hole. So you basically you take the design elements away. You can design what you want with additive, as we know.
But you talk about them not. But can't you make them in a production way now with some of these 3D printers?
Yeah. So when you look at Goering with their Mark Forge Mark 3D printer, that is call it low cost printer. That is half the price of any other technology I'm aware of, and obviously that's bringing the price down for the consumer, the end user. The big benefit though is literally you draw it in your 3D model. The printer doesn't know if it's difficult. It's not like a machine shop where you, how am I going to program that? Yeah. The printer doesn't know if it's straightforward or difficult. You press print, you come home, you come in the next day, and there's your part. It's not quite ready. It's not quite ready to use. Typically, these are what we call PCD. So the carbide is brazed onto the tool rather than screwed on. So there's an element of milling, but very little.
So what are they actually making the tool out of? What material?
When you look at the Sandvik one, is that stainless or titanium? I think that's titanium. Okay. When you look at the Goering one, they typically do H13A or D2 tool steel. So yeah, premium materials. Yeah.
But can you not, like when you look at the HP 3D printer? This is a 3D printer that's kind of bridging the gap between injection molding. I know you're never going to achieve those volumes, but with the kind of I can't remember what they call them, almost like the
tray.
The trays or the buckets or whatever. Yeah, you can produce 50, 100, 200 parts depending on what will fit in that volumetric area. Is there not a printer that can do the same with these cutting tools?
Yeah, I think. Sandvik don't say what they use, but I think it's EOS, which is a similar type of technology where it's you're putting down powder and you're lasering multiple components.
Did a video for EOS over in Russia. Right. Yeah. So I remember seeing it. No, we were in a hurry though.
Yeah, but the Mark Forge is a single nozzle, suppose you call it, a single nozzle, and it's putting down powder and then curing it, and then you take it to a third party. You take it to essentially an oven, which cures it, takes it from a green state to a solid state.
Maybe you should put Geo in there. That might cure him.
Yeah. I mean, it's good point on that topic, because what we're going to do this week is I'm going to ask you, actually, we're over halfway through the year, and I would be interested to know, and that's a technology that, okay, we have been hearing about it for some years now. I know it's still in its infancy, but what things have you picked up on this year, Colin, that have been awe-inspiring or have been, really sort of made you think, wow, that's going to change certain things for companies because of the technologies?
I think, has technology moved on loads? I'm not sure about that, but I think the uptake, in fact, I was looking at the innovation model. You've got your innovators, your early adopters, if you remember this from your days school, the early majority, late majority, and the laggards, Paul, is people adopting new technology. And I think the way robots have moved on, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the technology has changed specifically. They're probably a bit faster, stronger and things like that. But a lot more you've seen a lot more robots and robotic companies. So I'm going to put you to test on a couple of things.
Are you looking at my notes, by the way?
Absolutely not. No,
is that exactly word for word what I was going to say, but carry on.
Okay, I was told his word. Okay, so names, Paul, I'm going to see how many we can name. Robot company?
Fanuc.
Yep, tick. Joe?
Staubli.
Oh, Staubli, that's not on my list. Well done. I'll add that.
I'll do the difficult ones.
Okay, I'll go Halter.
Kuka.
Yeah, tick.
Not ABB.
Oh, yeah, tick. I'll go another one. I'm going to go Omron. No, not more. That's an anagram of moron. But
beyond that, there's one. What's the big one in the States?
We filmed them in Poland. Was it Poland when we went to Toolex?
Huge one. Yeah, Herco work in conjunction with them as well on their collaborative robots.
Shall I go again? Kawasaki.
Oh, my list. But I'll give you a clue. Universal.
Universal Robots.
Absolutely.
I think they're the world's biggest.
They are the world's biggest,
because they make all these cobots.
Absolutely. So the way, I mean, when I first started with MTD 7 years ago, I got an ice bucket over my head. That woke me up. You hardly saw many robot arms. Now,
Imawa.
Bless you. What?
Yeah. No, the big blue robots.
But you didn't see many robots. I don't think you see as much uptake in the UK machine shops as you are in other countries. In fact, I'm going to put you to another test. These figures are from 2019 because they're the latest figures. Sales were actually down in 2020 because of COVID pandemic, but there was hundreds of thousands of installations. I think it's 340,000. I can't find my notes on that one. But biggest markets for installations. Go on, I'll give you
of robots.
Of robots. I've got
China,
Korea.
one.
China. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Korea.
Korea 2.
Hold on. Yeah.
Then you're probably going to be somewhere like, I don't
Germany,
know, Brazil.
Whoa, hold on. Germany. Yeah, I'll give you that
USA.
one. Hold on. Yeah, give you that one.
Yeah, Brazil.
No, they're not on there.
No. Vietnam.
Nope.
Out of Mongolia.
Yes, actually, Uzbekistan. No, it's not really. But some others that might surprise you. We're going to be here all day doing it because you're not very bright. That's aimed at Paul, not Joe, by the way. You got Japan second.
Of course.
Yeah,
Japan.
absolutely. But lower down the list, Mexico. That's good. I've been practicing that one. India, which you'd probably expect. Canada. Thailand. 15th. Czech Republic.
Is it? Where are we on
Not
that
even
list?
on that list.
Not even
on that list, which I'm really surprised about.
Yeah, that's changing. That's changing.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
we've got some
Well,
bigger...
we're 57.
I don't know where we are. In
Yeah, I
the
think we're
list, really.
57.
Which is
I
just-
think the better measure is robots per head rather than, because clearly we'll never, some of those nations will never
That's
catch
true,
up. But
yeah.
you should, the measure is how many robots per 1,000 people.
And there is
I think
a
Korea was a
statistic,
top
isn't it?
one, wasn't it? I couldn't
Yeah.
find those figures yesterday, to be honest.
But it is something that I appreciate. It is something that has happened a lot here over the pandemic. People have started to invest in automation. I think you'll find some of those figures will change per head. Joe, other than robots, what's something that's really excited you in the last?
I'm going to continue the theme somewhat. It's obviously we talked about multi-axis robots there, but engineers are just looking predominantly, not always, looking to get a piece of material into a machine and out of a machine without being a human being. And they're trying to do that the cheapest, most efficient way. Some of these robots go as fast as the eye.
Yeah.
Engineers, I don't think they care if it takes 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to load one. They just don't want to be there.
Yep.
And want to be playing golf for Paul. But in terms of pricing, what do you think is the cheapest way of automating the machine?
Well,
let's take a twin spindle. So it comes off complete twin spindle Y-axis machine.
a cobot.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
20 grand.
So I did a job with Mazak on HQR. No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was on a quick turn lathe, but it doesn't matter. It used to be done 3-4 ops. The story we hear all the time: 3-4 ops, taking multiple jobs, multiple errors, multiple datums. They put a universal robot onto it, fully installed, training, bolted on, place to put the parts, all the rest of it, and it was sub 25k.
Yep.
Sub 25k, and this thing just runs. I think depends on the job. I think it was a 2.5 hour run.
Yep.
But they're going to put other tables on it.
That was at the
you
company
run the thing all
factory.
day. Yeah. Delau, yeah.
Delau.
The videos, it's proved this morning, the video, so that'll be on the channel very, very shortly. But yeah, it's just, I look at it, and some of these, just lots, I know Lang have got a really good system, and they had very poor adoption. They probably wouldn't mind me saying that, but they're popping up all over the place now. I had an email this last week or so about going to see 2 new installations. There's a third one in Scotland, and they are just a different way people look to automate. Do you go for a cost-effective toe in the water with a cobot where you've got a load of billet? Do you go for the Lang system where you're loading the device? When you look at a lathe, do you do for gantry so you're not taking up floor space, or do you go for a Lang, a robo job system? It's a difficult decision, but the only decision to make is you have to do it.
Yeah, and I think
automate one way or the
Neil
other.
Wilkinson from Superstar Components, we spoke about this briefly on the show last week. He looks at automation, and he's automated his whole shop now, but he looks at it. And he talks about return on investment and how quickly things get paid back, but he does look at the outlay, and he goes, I want to automate my machines for as low a cost as possible. And if that can be a cobot, if that can be a pallet changer, I don't want to be spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, because that introduces risk. If I can do it for tens of thousands of pounds, I'm mitigating any
I'm sure
risks.
all companies have got it, but I remember doing a video with Shane from Halter, and he had the return on investment, and he went through a couple of really simple questions, and it was amazing. The return on investment in some of these robots was absolutely
and people sometimes
phenomenal.
don't believe it as well. I mean, one of the things I was going to mention, and we're getting a little bit tight for time now, and we've got a couple of other bits to touch on, but was some additive technology from Meld, which I looked at with Ross Milne, solid state material through the spindle. It's like a machining center, so you feed a solid bar through the top of the machine into this kind of yes, into the spindle, although it's not a spindle. And what happens is it moves like a machining centre, and it just, as it moves, it just melts the bar that's in its solid state,
almost like a glue,
and then reprints it. 1 mil thickness. It's a fast way of printing, and you can print all kinds of materials.
And that was meld. Did you say?
It's meld. The actual operation is actually called. It melts and it layers, and it's faster than standard 3D printing.
So it's like what Colin's saying, isn't it? It's almost like a glue gun.
Yeah, you get your bar from your supplier, you stick it in the top of the machine, and then what happens is somewhere in it feeds the bar like a bar feed, except in a vertical format, and it just melts it, and then it
it's like a glue gun.
Yeah. Have you said that already? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
There's a parrot in here, but yeah. It is
scary where additive technology is going. I don't think it's not going to replace machines. It never ever will.
Do you think?
But never will.
No.
But
10 years time, I'm going to ask you what you think about that in 10 years time, Joe.
Yeah, it will never. Never's a long time, but in our lifetime, additive 3D printing will never replace a CNC machine. But they're there to help. They are there. Every machine shop should have one.
Yes.
And I think what you'll find in time is that the technologies will combine as they are, the hybrid styles where you can do all.
Well, you do production
do
runs now?
Turning, printing. You can do the whole lot in.
We don't need to mill or turn.
Yeah, going back to Colin's bit about product introduction and product life cycles, we're still at introduction. So when you look at the curve, you've got introduction, growth, maturity, decline.
Oh, yeah.
And we're still in the bit where it's expensive. As soon as you get into decline, that's where it's mass produced, mass market, and a lot cheaper.
Yeah, then
I still think we're 10 years from that.
Yeah, so all the early adopters are getting on board now, though. Definitely.
Yes. So next week we are going to Seco, where we're looking at Tornos machines, which I believe are supplied now in the UK by I think it's Premier Machine Tools. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah. I'm also at XYZ with Nigel Atherton looking at a brand new twin spindle turning centre. So lots going on over the coming days. We've had some great videos going on to the channel this week from Mazak, as Joe's mentioned already. Another one coming on soon, but specifically from GW Martin, where I've spoken to Jason Butler about their multi-axis technology that's been introduced there for the unmanned running. Gio's been talking to Martin Page. There's technical corners from Hydrofeed. We've also got a good tour of FT gearing, which you did, Joe, again on behalf of Mazak. We've got videos from Citizen, Prima Power, a Courier video that I did at Blue Diamond Engineering, Mill CNC, a review with Tony Dale on the TT twin spindle, twin turret turning centre. There's also videos from Matt Sura, Dugard's Hamwar machine, which you reviewed, Colin, which has done tremendously well, actually.
So you sound surprised.
No, not
Wow.
just some. It's not taking a. You did a brilliant job, but what happens with some videos is they go nuts, and then some videos don't go quite so nuts. But that one just seemed to
I tell you
take
what,
off.
Technology absolutely fantastic. Sliders, yes, we've got the alliteration, the SSS, Swarf Sliding Special.
Yep.
But went down to Dugard, saw the Hamwar machines. Colin Thompson did not want to go on camera, and this is not having a dig at Colin. He was brilliant.
Good video, that.
Yeah, thank you very much. But Colin, he was an absolute legend. He really was. For somebody who was really, I'm not going on camera, he went on camera and was just.
I can't believe
I actually learned a lot from that video. Yeah. Obviously, the Hamwar brand I'm aware of globally and all the rest of it, and Dugard are doing a good job here in the UK. In fact,
I've got to go back to Delau because that's where they've got.
They're over the moon. They are. They're over the moon. Yeah. They had a different sliding head manufacturer, a supplier before, and they've gone across to Dugard. They're over the moon.
Yeah. No, great.
Yeah. So
globally, they're massive, of course. Hamwar here in the UK, it's fair to say they're not in the top two, but globally, they're massive.
Well, I think Paul knows the answer. How many machines did they make last year?
Mate, I ain't got a clue. 10,000.
No, that's a bit. 2,600, which.
I'll never clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they are an incredible success story around the world, but I'm sure they'll do well.
Another video put out was the Engineering Economic Indicator that went out.
And what was your status?
Well, I was fine. I was in front of the camera, just standing there doing. Oh, I see. Right, was it? It is positive. It's been positive since we started. So 0 to 100, 50 years ticking along as usual. It's always been over 50 the whole time we've been doing it every month. And you've got your CBI and the manufacturing index, but it's a survey, as is speaking to people. What is your score? And I would say it was 57.2 from memory, so positive and really strong. Key to it is investment, but we've got other issues coming through. Inflation, is that going to be an issue going forward? And it's not about your salaries and things like that, because people were furloughed and spent, it's more Well, I'm going to keep my powder dry on that because that's coming for the next.
Well, we said this
EEI.
last week. It's about time to invest now, isn't it? If there are going to be
And
changes in
and
interest
the government,
rates.
this isn't a politics show. They're doing a lot, aren't they? We know about obviously the schemes that I think
Super tax.
Super tax, another
Yeah.
57 million put into the pot
Wow.
this week
Yeah.
alone for innovation centres. There's going to be more, call it AMRC style centres. There's another
Yeah.
two opening.
You do. I do want to just touch on this before we finish. You do the MTD MFG Great British podcast on a Thursday. You mentioned about the pilot that you had on yesterday. But in general, what were the news stories and what can people take from what's been happening in
should warn me
manufacturing?
all these, Paul. I'll do some notes. The big
Well,
one,
you normally go on GB News. I mean, this is nothing compared to sitting there talking to Michelle Dewsbury.
I'd rather talk to Michelle than you, Paul.
sure
with all
you
due
would.
respect.
I'd
But
rather
yeah,
speak to her than
no,
speak to
it's
you.
so the news this week. Arla, yogurt manufacturer. They make Danish yogurts in
Do you know
Denmark.
They're based just around here as well.
Not a million miles away, Investing 25 million to bring Denmark yogurts reshore into the UK.
Are they going to be
They
Danish?
make
Are they going to be
milk as
Danish
well,
milk?
don't they? I think they do.
I'm
milk.
not sure, but
They
yeah,
do.
25 million basically bringing Denmark yogurts to UK, which is good news. The big one, of course, is Sheffield Forge Masters, some 200 years old, that business, something like that. And it's been in... It's a tough business, that is. And basically, it's been purchased by the Ministry of Defence.
Oh,
So explain what this means. then.
So this means... I'm sure it's owned by the workers currently, but essentially the shares, they can't sell their shares. It's been... Chinese have been trying to take it over for some time, which normally... I'm not against foreign investment, anything but Sheffield Forge Masters do a lot towards our nuclear programs, things like this, and it's fair to say that's something we want to keep hold of. It's not that we don't want to sell it to China, we don't want to sell it to anybody. We need to keep hold of that for our own good. Ministry of Defence have taken it on. They're going to invest 400 million over the next 10 years. A lot of CNC machine tools, so there'll be a lot of interested parties on that. But for me, that's the big... Okay, that's mainstream media probably not that bothered about it, but for us, it's a big deal.
but all the stories you guys find, you don't see many of them on the actual news. And I think someone said, "Oh, what I don't want to see all these good news stories." Yes, we do. And there's so much investment going on in the UK which you don't hear about, apart from on our channel. And it's absolutely
And to be frank, we're biased. We don't talk about the bad stuff. You mentioned GB News. They were talking about ping gators, I think they call it, and all the rest of it. And that is a negative, but you've got to try and forget about that. There's still a lot of good stuff happening. There's 275 jobs at electric vehicle taxi manufacturer in Coventry, which you wouldn't necessarily know about.
Absolutely.
And there was an incident on GB News when you were on there last week where Michelle was talking. I don't know. Did you see it? It was an absolute classic. She was just about to introduce. I think you must be sitting in some, I don't know, waiting room or what have you.
The green room is a star.
And
she was talking about. Well, you tell the story, Joe, because I can't quite remember. But it was fun.
So I'm there. You have to be on 15 minutes early, like Paul says. Check the technology and what have you. And I'm sat here doing my notes and just thinking, oh yeah, what happens if she asked me that? What happens if she asked me that? And she's interviewing, she's talking about cyber security, which we're all aware of. Problems on your phone, if you open up a dodgy text, they've got access to your bank details, all this stuff. And it says, oh yeah, and coming up now, I'm going to speak to a cyber security expert, and I forget the gentleman's name, but I pop up on the screen.
Wow.
I pop up on the screen, and I can see it at the corner of my eye, and I don't want to look up because they'll know what I know. So I'm like this, looking out the corner of my eye. I think, do you know what? I'm going to wing it. I know a bit about cyber security, and I was just about to go, well, Michelle, we all know the problems with cyber security and blah, 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 privacy with social media and all that. And luckily, it disappeared and the correct guy came up.
That is a bit of a clanger.
But it was funny, twitchy bun times.
And this is a regular feature. You can, of course, listen to the Great British Manufacturing podcast, which comes out every Thursday. You can find that on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on, but it's also on the MTD MFG channel. But also you can see Joe at 6:30, regular slot on a Tuesday evening, GB News.
Talking good news stories
About manufacturing and doing it quite well as well, I have to say. So well done, Joe. Also, the MTD Magazine. This is, of course, the July edition. You can visit our website, mtdcnc.com, the MTDCNC channel, to register for a copy. If you don't get one in the post, there's some really good news stories in here. You talk about Forge Masters. I know we covered that quite extensively extensively in our publication as well. So lots going on at MTD, and we're even hopeful that now some of the countries have been added to the amber and the green list, that we should be able to get to the States. We always give Tony a mention during this show because I know he listens. He'll be travelling back from, I think he's been in Illinois this week somewhere. I saw he'll be travelling back to Florida
Bahamas.
tonight. Yeah, he'll be travelling back to Florida tonight, having been looking at machines and all the rest of it. So we may even be able to get over to the States soon, and vice versa. He may be able to come here. But if you want to see what Tony's up to, you can see everything that's happening in the United States on the MTDCNC.global channel as it stands at the moment. But it'll be coming onto the MTDCNC.
Are you sort of winding the show up now? Because I've got loads more to talk about.
We are 42 minutes in, unfortunately,
Okay.
Colin. And if you've got something that you want to add,
very
please
quick.
do.
Well, I'll keep my powder dry for the next show, but very briefly then, shows we're going to visit soon. Hopefully they'll be on. Subcon, there's someone out there saying it's not going ahead. That is absolute pony, if I can use that phrase. It's most definitely on. Really is. So Win Your Razor, we're hoping to go to in Turkey in November. Global Industry in France, hopefully September, if I can say that. We'll cover that off later. MSC Milmax I want to cover, but we haven't got time. We'll do that next time. Also, I've been looking at your joke book, Paul. There's two cannibals sitting there, and they ate clown, and one of them said to the other, "Did that taste a bit funny?"
Boom.
My passing shot.
Bunkhouse
My
special.
passing shot. Before we started this, Paul, so I'm going to ask you one thing you've learnt this year. One thing, and I'm scratching my head because I'm a bit of a know-it-all, as you know. And I'm thinking, Colin hates golf cheats. That is the one thing I've learnt this year.
Don't. I was so... I just, yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
well-
I'm angry now.
Okay, now one show you didn't mention is EMO. We're going to be at 2, which is a big one, and of course you've got MAC 2022. Let's hope that these events do happen. We will certainly be going to France in September, given the fact that we are allowed, because it will be great to start bringing, technologies as we all learn at these shows back to our screens again. It will have only been 18 months since the last. Oh no, we went to Poland in September. Didn't we?
I watched that video yesterday. That was brilliant. We had a great time.
So there you have it, just under 45 minutes. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Join us every Friday evening at 6 o'clock, where we do what we've just done and discuss what we've been up to and what we're going to be up to soon, with a little bit of chit chat along the way. Thanks a lot, gents, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.